You don't have to quit your job to start thinking like a founder. In fact, most people wait way too long to flip this mental switch. They assume you only become an entrepreneur after you leave your 9 to 5. But the truth is, entrepreneurship isn't a title, it's a way of thinking. And if you don't start thinking like one before you leave your job, you'll take employee habits into your business and wonder why nothing changes. The employee mindset. Most people don't realize they've been trained to think like employees since childhood. In school, you're rewarded for following instructions. At work, you're rewarded for keeping things running, not for reinventing them. That system conditions you to wait for direction, to seek approval, to value stability over growth. So even when people want to finally build something of their own, they bring those same habits with them, and those habits quietly hold them back. What thinking like a founder really means. Thinking like a founder isn't about quitting your job or taking wild risks. It's about changing the lens you see the world through. Entrepreneurs don't see work as something they have to do. They see it as something they build through. Instead of asking, "What's my task?" they ask, "What's the result?" Instead of thinking, "How do I get paid?" they think, "How can I create value that multiplies?" It's a quiet shift, but it's massive. Because once you start thinking like that, you stop seeing limits and start seeing leverage. The permission versus proof mindset. In a job, you're trained to wait for permission. Permission to start. Permission to share ideas. Permission to move forward. But entrepreneurs don't wait. They prove. They test, they learn, and they adapt. They don't need someone else's approval to validate what they're building. And that's where most people get stuck. They're trying to build a business while still waiting for permission to believe in it. Time versus leverage. Employees trade time for money. Entrepreneurs trade systems for freedom. That's why your free time after work matters more than you think. Those 3 or 4 hours in the evening, that's your leverage window. You can either use it to escape reality for a few hours or to design a new one. Freedom isn't built in a single decision. It's built in those consistent, quiet hours when no one's watching. Use your job to your advantage. At your current job, start paying attention. Figure out what problems you're actually solving, not just the tasks you do, but the outcomes they create. What skills do you already have that make you valuable? And what new skills could you learn that would make you irreplaceable? Use your job to your advantage. See it as you getting paid to learn. You're surrounded by systems, decisions, and processes that move money, and you get to study all of it without risk. Most people waste that opportunity. They just show up, do what's asked, and then leave. But an entrepreneur sees it differently. They see it as free education in how businesses really work. You don't have to quit to start building leverage. You just have to stop acting like your job is the finish line. Most people stay employees forever because they never learn to act without permission. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect timing. They wait for the certainty that doesn't exist. But entrepreneurship starts long before the business. It starts the day you stop waiting. What entrepreneurs see differently? Entrepreneurs see opportunity in friction. When something breaks, they don't complain. They get curious. When they see inefficiency, they see leverage. That's the difference. Employees avoid problems. Entrepreneurs chase them because they know solving them is how you get paid. The equity mindset. Entrepreneurs think in equity, not effort. Every asset you build, a landing page, a system, a process, is something that can pay you later. Every connection, every skill, every document, it compounds. Most people work for the week. Entrepreneurs work for the future. You don't need to quit to start building. You don't need to quit your job to start thinking differently. Your job isn't the enemy. It's your investor. It funds your bills, it gives you structure, and it buys you time to build something that's yours. Just make sure that time is being used to create leverage, not comfort. How thinking like a founder changes everything. When you start thinking like a founder, you stop measuring time in hours and start measuring it in progress. You stop chasing motivation, you start building consistency. You stop waiting for opportunity, instead you start creating it. And that's when everything shifts. Not when you quit, but when you finally start acting like your future depends on what you do today. The identity shift. Before you build a business, you have to build a new identity. Because if you keep thinking like an employee, you'll build another job for yourself, not freedom. Entrepreneurs think in cause and effect. They don't wait for luck, they create leverage. They don't ask, "Can I do this?" They ask, "How can I learn it faster?" And once that mindset clicks, everything else follows. You don't have to quit your job to start thinking like an entrepreneur. You just have to stop thinking like an employee. Because the mindset always comes before the milestone. The habits come before the freedom. Start now. In your spare hours, in your evenings, in the moments no one's watching. And if you want help building the skills that give you control and predictable income, join Lead Incubator. That's where I teach professionals how to turn their time into leverage through simple, proven lead generation systems. It's free to join. The link's down below. I'll see you on the inside.